Hey guys, it's David here, and this week I'm bringing you another review of Will and Grace Season 9, the revival season. I can say with 100% certainty that this episode, for me, was like miles above the premiere episode last week. Right off the bat in the little intro scene with Grace and Will and Jack talking about what happened at the clubs last night, I'm very happy that this revised world of Will and Grace has gay clubs, because that's an aspect that wasn't that present on the original show. Jack is feeling down because some kid at the club called him a daddy, and Will is feeling great because he got hit on by a kid of similar age, I presume. Jack's one-liner to Grace about her peekaboo sleeves had me laughing. So from the first scene, it was like, okay, we're into familiar energy, they're doing funny one-liners, here we are, okay. One note about that designing women speech, I remember in my youth seeing that episode on TV, and it was for some reason just that scene. Like, I didn't even see the whole episode. I have not seen anything else from the series, but just by chance, that speech came to me from the television, and I will always remember having a moment where I was like, that's good TV. And yes, for those of you who are gonna call me out, it's on my list of shows to watch. I also haven't seen The Golden Girls. Then we get into the Karen B plot, and this is like prime. We have her interacting with her new maid, Bridget, who I presume is one of several replacements for Rosario. Rosario is like still existing in this world, apparently. She's maybe like the head maid. Bridget refers to being sent up by Rosario, so maybe we'll see what happens with that in the future. But I was kind of caught off guard. I was like, damn, you're gonna like press on this wound that Rosario's not on the show by mentioning her, but okay, choices. When Karen was asked about raises, Megan Mullally takes so long to formulate her decision and like make so many different varieties of sounds during her little brainstorming moment, and then carry the four, yes, I'm still rich. Yes. There was one opportunity for what I thought could have been a really funny joke. When Jack enters, Bridget exits, and she knows about what happened with him at the clubs last night. I felt like this could have been a full circle moment for the gay monthly news joke that Will had made over breakfast in the first scene. Because he asks Karen, oh, how does she know what happened? And it turns out that like Karen told her, but Karen could have just been like, oh, she read about it in the gay monthly news. That brings us to Will's date, and I have to say it was really refreshing as a fan of the show to see Will getting ready for a date, which is something we did not see enough of in the original series. I did have some issues with his date, which I will get to after I'm done stating the positives. Maybe as a millennial, I took it too personally. Meanwhile, we're getting into the meat of the Jack subplot, the C plot, I suppose that is, where Karen has given him all these accoutrements. He's acquired some like face magnets and a body shaper of sorts to wear at the club so that he doesn't look like a daddy, I suppose. In promos, they were using the scene where he like can't really walk and then he like just falls onto a couch. And this is very funny. This was basically like the single thing that got me excited about this episode. It's kind of sad and endearing to see Jack like flirting with this guy. Tony is? No, Tony is the intern from the last episode. What's this guy's name? Lincoln! Okay, Lincoln. The physical comedy carries on also to his like moments in the hallway when he's trying to get Will to help him out. These cartoony sound effects of like metal clanking. I mean, it's so much, but it's, I mean, Sean Hayes, clearly they were just like, go for it, you do you. Live. Also, his delivery on the he should be beaten with a VHS copy of Evita work. That was a moment where I was like, that is very funny and also very in character with like you being a grown gay man and just being like, cut the bullshit. You know, if it had been the original series, he would have like thrown a tantrum with it or like done it really, really high pitched, but I was just like, good. We are characters who are growing and developing and in our actual real bodies 11 years later. Meanwhile, Grace and Karen are trapped in a shower that like apparently has voice recognition, and Karen made it lock. It's sitcom. Honestly, for a real moment, I didn't follow Grace's logic getting into the shower. First off, she's talking as if she's like Karen's plumber or something. She's like, I told you not to program it yourself. And then she goes and is like, why are the jets so low? Suddenly I am the shower police. I don't know. But they get in the shower, that's what matters. And Megan Mullally, all throughout these scenes, is so funny. All of her posing and like wrapping her legs around Debra Messing. It's also kind of like a masterclass in comedy and like comedic padding. Because if you pay attention, like clearly they have this obstacle of water to work with, and so the pacing of the lines is kind of hindered by the fact that they have to like get to each other in this water. And especially at the moment where Debra Messing is swimming towards her to hug her, just like the way that Megan Mullally as Karen is filling the time because she has to wait to give the punchline until Debra Messing is hugging her completely, and then she still lands the punchline and nails it. She makes it look really easy, and people probably don't even like notice the pause. So then we're back with Will on his date moment, and as I mentioned before, the millennial continues to irk me in certain ways, but there was one funny line from him, which was, my boner has already called a lift. That was a funny line. I love that Will actually ends up giving him a speech about gay history, because like, any normal person would just like sleep with the kid and forget about it and never talk to each other again. But Will being Will, larger than life character, he's clearly going to take the opportunity to educate the youth. So I thought that this moment was definitely very consistent with his character throughout the show. Across the hall, Jack in full face greets the young man who he met at the club, Lincoln, who we all know and love. It was an instant reminder of that Alyssa Edwards gif of her getting ready in the mirror. You guys know the one. Karen and Grace have a sweet little resolution where Grace realizes that Karen is valuable to her and will get a raise, which she clearly doesn't need. The moment's broken when Grace realizes that her name is Karen's safe word. This is punctuated by Karen literally pushing Grace down into the water. Like, Megan Mullally literally pushes Debra Messing down, and I thought that they would like go to some sort of a close-up or like cut away, and it's literally just like wide shot of Debra Messing's face underwater. Then we get into the final resolution between Will and Jack at the end of the episode, and I love the line, "Twinkies never expire." And the like little choreographed dance moment at the end was definitely like classic. It reminded me of the Bed Bath & Beyond episode where Grace is depressed in bed, and then Karen, Jack, and Will are all dancing in the living room, and she kind of like gets up with her bed sheets and is all depressed, and they're all just like having a party. This was a clear callback to that, and I appreciated it. So as I said, this is like very much the right direction of the show. I'm glad that they're starting to get into more situational comedy, exploring what it's like to date in the modern gay world as an older gay man, because I think that that's like not represented enough in like the small corner of media gay media occupies. With that, let's get into some critiques, some questions I had about the episode. In the opening scene, I'm wondering why Will was being quite so mean to Jack. I know that he always pokes fun at him, but it seemed in this opener that he was being pretty malicious. I know that they resolved things kind of in the end, but it was just like, damn, you know, you don't need to really rub it in that much. So this Ben Platt character, I don't know the character's name. Really nothing against Ben Platt. Like, we're all waving through a window, babe. But from the second that we saw him in the little like flashbacks of the night before, this is like the quintessential millennial written by non-millennial character. The moment where he kisses Will to say hello and then brings up the FaceTime of his friend, what was her name, Bridget or something, people don't do that. Like, that's not a thing. I fully agree that there are people who like talk that fast, and obviously, and then like maybe even burst out in song. But like, especially as somebody to be like paired with Will, I don't know that I buy Will going for someone that's just that plain stupid. I mean, because the kid was just like airheaded. It wasn't even a younger gay, older gay commentary. They could have been the same age and it still would have been like, Will dates an idiot.
Oh, you cook? That's a Throwback Thursday.
People don't say these things. He's just like not a human. And yet they're still using this character to comment on the generation gap. And this is something that I still think Brian Jordan Alvarez takes the cake in his gay age gap video series. It's really absurd and I think funnier and still a more realistic commentary on this challenge in the gay community. This whole like, you guys have it so perfect depiction of younger gay people is really not everyone's case. I think it can be kind of dangerous to make the commentary that like all gay kids today have it easy because a lot still don't. It's really not something that we need to be downplaying these days, even though it was, I agree, much harder in generations past. I hope that they'll contrast it with another story. Going along with that same theme, the fact that Will gave this speech to him was great. I wish the speech actually contained more facts, even if they're general. I get it's a sitcom, he can probably only rattle off like a sentence or two about Stonewall, but since it was mentioned, like, you might as well follow it up we didn't really need that Phagosaurus Rex joke. Rather than going on about how Madonna was there when nobody else was, which is like kind of debatable anyway, I would have rather him, you know, be like, hey, this is actually what Stonewall was, just for any of the younger viewers in the audience who don't know and aren't familiar. A couple teeny Jack things. I wish that the camera had been on him for the makeup reveal. It has a reaction shot from Lincoln, but it kind of spoils the surprise. And I also wish that Jack had a better resolution, because it just kind of is left at, the guy ran away, he was scared, and, you know, life sucks. The Jack that I think we all know and love would have been like, yeah, he was scared, but I wiped the makeup off and we slept together anyway. But I know the point of the episode was kind of to show that Jack is struggling with this, but it doesn't really give him any kind of arc. He's kind of like back where he started by the end of the episode, except now Will isn't being a dick to him anymore. There's sort of this will they or won't they moment happening with Jack and Will, where they're like, oh, I wish I could find somebody who I had a shorthand with, and then they're having shorthands about a Diet Coke or whatever. Google sponsorship breaks that moment in a it's just a very awkward, because like Jack asks Will like, oh, you know, why is it always a kiss and then a punch with you? And Will is like, okay, Google. This is something that they like kind of played around with at the beginning of the original series in like seasons 1 and 2, but I thought that they like came to the conclusion this doesn't really work. They're just not compatible in that way. So I don't really get this. Like, just because it's 11 years later doesn't mean after all this time they're going to end up together. I'm hoping this was just a cute way to end this episode and it's not like the start of a season arc. It kind of felt like it could be that, and I just don't know if that's the direction I want these characters to go in. I really want to see them dating other people. Anyway, that's all I've got for this week. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, whether you agreed with anything I said, whether you completely disagreed. If you're not subscribed, please click the subscribe button, the little bell button. Also, if you're a big fan of my videos and you want to support what I'm doing on this channel, you can check out my Patreon link in the description as well. And other than that, I thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. All right, bye.
There's my heart. There's my heart. Now everybody seems to be just fine, circling a line, but I just want somebody to call mine. A little romantic with candles on the side, hearing you giggle, heavily breathe down your spine. Now I've gone through the chapters, the pages, and the scenes, but nobody ever completing this thing.